Hi everyone, I'm gonna read out loud some sentences that will be shown on the screen. While I'm reading these sentences, I want you to focus which tense did I use in each sentence. Let's start by the first sentence. She always drinks coffee in the morning. He goes to school every day. The earth revolves around the sun. Water freezes at 0 degrees. The train leaves at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. The lessons begin at 8 a.m. next week. They will do their homework as soon as they go home. Dad will call you when he arrives. Okay, as you can see here, in all these sentences, I used the present simple. But my first question is, why do I use the present simple? Let's see the first one here. She always drinks coffee in the morning. So in this sentence, I used the present simple in order to express habits. So what do I mean by a habit? A habit is something that you always do, okay? So something that you regularly do. It's part of your lifestyle. So as I said here, she always drinks coffee in the morning. What about the second sentence? He goes to school every day, so this is a repeated action, something that you do over and over. Okay, let's see the couple of sentences that are followed. The earth revolves around the sun and water freezes at 0 degrees. These two sentences represent facts or general truth, something that will not change. The train leaves at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. How can I say leaves and tomorrow morning? Does the present simple express the future? Yes. When can I use the present simple to express the future? If you're speaking about future timetabled events. By timetabled events, I mean events that happen at a specific time, such as the time of the train, the plane, the buses, and so on. These things have fixed time. Their time doesn't change. The lessons begin at a.m. next week. So here, although I use the present simple, the sentence has the sentence has a future meaning. Okay, what about the following one here? They will do their homework as soon as they go home. Dad will call you when he arrives. The first part of the sentence is future simple. The second part is present simple. So why did I use here the present simple? Because I have some conjunctions with future meanings. What do I mean by conjunctions? Conjunctions are words that are used to link two sentences, such as soon as, when, after, and before. I can use these words, which are called conjunctions, to give future meaning. So when dad arrives, he will call you. So I can use the present simple to express habits, repeated actions, facts or general truth, future timetabled events, conjunctions with future meaning. Okay, let's see how can I form the present simple. Any tense has three forms. The first one is the negative, the positive or affirmative form. The second one is the negative form. The third one is the question form. But concerning the question form, I have two kind of questions. I have yes no questions and I have WH questions. Okay, so let's start by the positive or affirmative form in the present simple. Here, the first sentence, my sister usually reads English books at her free time. Dad often drives fast. My brother watches TV at night. She always studies hard. It rains in Egypt. Okay, here I have five sentences. What can you notice in these five sentences? I used only the verb reads, drives, watches, studies, rains, but each verb has a different ending. Sometimes I use the s, sometimes I used es like watches, sometimes I used ies, Sometimes I added the s only if the verb ends with e, like drives. So, what about the subject? I started by my sister, then dad, my brother, she, or it. So, I can form the positive or affirmative form by the subject, and in this case, by subject, I mean he or she or it, plus the verb, but you have to add to the verb s or es or ies. Es if your verb ends with ch like watch, sh like wash, x like fix, s like miss, or o like do or go. IES if your verb ends with Y, but it's before the Y, I have a consonant sound like study, cry, worry, and so on. What if my verb ends with Y, but before the Y, I have a vowel sound like play or say? In this case, you only add the S. Okay, what about the other sentences here? They never tell lies. We sometimes go to cinemas. I often visit my friends at the weekends. You seldom stay up late. Okay, here the subject changed. I have they, we, I, and you, and the verb as well changed. So I have tell, go, visit, stay up. I didn't add anything. So in case you have the subject, they, we, I, you don't add anything to the verb. You just leave the verb as it is. Okay, let's take the second form, which is the negative form. Excellent. Okay, so here the first sentence. My sister doesn't always read English stories. He doesn't work at school. It doesn't rain here. She doesn't usually watch TV. What can you notice? Yes, I used a helping word which is doesn't. When if you have the subject, he or she or it, plus doesn't, plus the verb infinitive. Don't forget that once I use doesn't, you don't add anything to the verb because doesn't absorb the s, es, and ies. Then the following sentences, they don't live in Italy. We don't wake up early. You don't usually help others. I don't sleep late. So here, what can you notice? If I have they, we, you, and I, in this case, I'm gonna use don't. Plus the verb infinitive as well. So the present simple needs help in the negative form. What words can help him? Doesn't and don't. But bear in mind that after doesn't and don't, you have to use the verb infinitive. Doesn't is used when the subject is he, she, it. Don't is used when the subject is they, we, you, and I. Let's say the question form. As I told you, I have two kinds of questions. WH questions and yes no questions. By yes no questions, I mean the answer can be either yes or no. The first category, does the policeman catch the thieves? Does your friend live in England? Does it rain in Egypt? Do you usually go to school by car? Do your parents speak French? Okay, what can you notice here? Yes, as you can see, I started by does in case the subject is he or she or it. So you start by does plus the subject he or she or it, and my verb has to be in the infinitive form, so you don't add anything to the verb. Let's see the second category. If you have do, you're gonna use you, they, I, we, and the verb infinitive as well. So in the yes no question, you start by does or do, but the subject with does, he, she, it, the subject with do, you, they, I, we, plus verb infinitive in both cases. Let's see the second kind of question, which is WH question. So you're gonna start by a question word that starts with WH. What do your parents do? When does the train leave? How often do you travel? Where does he work? Why do you learn languages? In this case, I started by the WH question or the WH word plus do or does plus the subject plus verb infinitive. So question form plus does if you have he, she, it, verb infinitive. Question word plus do plus they, we, you, I, verb infinitive. Okay, here comes a question to my mind. When can I use the present simple, or how can I know that in this sentence I have to use the present simple? You have to have a keyword. So, what are the keywords of the present simple? The most famous one is every, then, in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, twice a week, once a week. And then you've got the adverb of frequency always, usually, often, sometimes, hardly ever, seldom, rarely, never. Hardly ever, seldom, and rarely, the three of them are synonyms, and they mean that you do something very little. Okay, let's say the position of the adverb of frequency, which means that where can I place the adverb of frequency when I have a sentence? Okay, if you have these sentences, she always studies hard. They never misbehave. What can you notice? When I have a mean verb such as study, run, play, joke, where do you put the adverb of frequency before the main verb? So I put here always and never before the main verb. So we start by the subject plus the adverb of frequency plus the verb. What if I have verb to be? She is always busy. We're usually late. In this case, something happened differently. So here, yes, the verb to be here, the place of the adverb of frequency changed. So you're going to put the adverb of frequency after verb to be. And by verb to be, I mean am or is or are. So you're gonna start by the subject plus verb to be plus the adverb.